Hey, everybody. It's Lindsay here. I'm here with Christy. And
Hello.
we were just talking about how we're both sort of feeling this pull for some sort of change or shift or travel or just a new beginning of some sort, whether it's a small one or a big one. And then we were talking about like, how do we start to feel into the direction to go with that. Especially when there's a lot of options that can be available to us, which is great. Like, we love this idea of abundance and having so many options to work with. But at the same time, it can be a little overwhelming of deciding what you want to do. So we were
Yeah,
talking.
I'll just, can I jump in?
Go for it.
Really
Go
jump
for
in.
it.
Yeah, because when you said that, it just sparked this thought in me that if you, or when you're really feeling that energy of abundance, you're also feeling that you can choose from almost anything.
Mm, mm-hmm.
The choices become so much bigger because now you're not thinking in the sense of, well, this is what is reasonable for me to expect that I could
Yeah.
accomplish or choose.
Yeah.
Now you're stretching out beyond that and saying, well, what would light me up? What would really feel good?
Yes.
And yeah, it's a lot of options.
Right. When you move from a mindset of limitation or lack and into one of abundance and possibility and believing anything is possible, then it's like, oh, wow, that is a lot. That's a lot of options.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that light me up and that I feel passionate about, or that could be just like a beautiful way to vision the next direction for me.
Hmm.
So, one of the things for me that's coming up is I'm feeling like I might want to move.
Hmm. Same.
Yeah, and I've thought about this, this is like a little thought that's moved through my consciousness, for a long time. And now it feels different. It feels like there's a little bit more of an energy behind it, that this is more likely to happen sooner rather than later. I can
Wow.
feel some energy gathering around. Yes. And then
Hmm.
but so I start to feel that energy and feel like, oh yeah, now this is feeling really alive for me. Like this is something that, because moving's not easy.
Especially when you've been somewhere for so long and you
Yeah, I've been
own
here
your
a really long
house.
time. Yeah.
It's different when you own a house and you've lived there a long time versus
Yeah.
me over here renting. It's just like, yeah, all right, next spot.
Yeah. So what I feel that energy rising up and feeling that inner yes of, okay, this is feeling like something that I really do want to put some energy into.
Mm,
But when I think beyond that, I start to feel, well, I don't have any particular place right now calling me to say, and this is where I want to go.
mm-hmm.
So I was sharing with Lindsay the the prayer, the affirmation I'm holding in my heart is to just be with spirit and say, show me the way.
So beautiful.
Thank you. And letting myself be in the unknown,
Yeah.
to feel that impulse of, yes, there's something coming, to and to not rush to
Yeah.
know the answer, that really linear way of doing things of like, okay, now
Yeah.
this is step one, now let's go to step two. Where is it? Decide. Boom, got to decide now.
Yeah.
But that's not how it's coming through for me in this moment. So I'm seeing what it feels like to sit in the unknown, which can be uncomfortable in and of itself.
Oh, for sure. And I think so many people like we want certainty, that we want to feel that sort of like groundedness of knowing. And that's what can be just like that discomfort is like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Like to actually have to sit in the unknown, like feeling a pull and then being like, but I don't know. Like that's such a practice in and of itself to just be okay with not knowing and staying open to the signs or the guideposts that are leading you to the next step and just trusting, actually trusting.
Yeah. So that's a practice, right? So I feel like this prayer, this affirmation, show me the way, is not just a deep trust in spirit and that higher guidance that we both like to work with and we're
Mhm.
hoping to share, that, imagining that if you're listening to this, you probably like to work with it too. But it's also this deep trust in self.
Yeah.
And how much do I really trust myself to make the right decisions for myself?
Yeah.
And just noticing. There's no, and I'm not saying like rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 now.
Right, right.
Just noticing what comes up in tuning into how much do I trust myself? How much do I trust my connection with spirit?
Mm-hmm.
And can I allow those energies to work together in this path of show me the way?
Yeah. And another, we were kind of talking too about with that, like posing that question or that affirmation or just like asking for the guidance. Um, you know, yeah, we want to have an answer, just like show up, just so like, oh, show me the way, there it is. But it's sort of like part of that practice is like in that day and the following days and the weeks is starting to just bring in awareness of what what is happening around you. Are there certain things that's like you're hearing about the same place multiple times, or you're feeling called to take a vacation somewhere, or there's just different little signs that are starting to speak to you. And sometimes they can be really subtle, sometimes they can be really loud, but it's just having that awareness and the noticing after you offer that affirmation to then see what starts to come into your awareness and your existence to give you a bit of that pathway towards the next step.
Yes.
Yeah. And I like what you were saying too, when we were chatting about this before we recorded, was that offering that affirmation and then being in that awareness, and then maybe in like a week sitting down in asking how certain things feel in your body, asking for a little bit more guidance or clarity in a short meditation and seeing what comes from that. Maybe it's nothing, that's okay, but maybe there is something there, and giving yourself that space to kind of ask again and be like, is there more clarity here for me now?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're asking the question, but not then going unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And another great tool around that is just journaling. Like
Yeah.
if you, so say the example that we're using here is moving. So if I could move anywhere, maybe even outside of saying a place, what would it look like? What would it feel like? Is it
Mm.
a big bustling city? Is it a smaller town? Is there mountains? Is there water? Is it more rain or more sun? Is it humid or dry? And feeling into it that way without saying, well, maybe it's New York, maybe it's Florida, maybe, trying to be so, again, so linear, and just
Yeah.
feeling into what would feel really good to me. And then using those as energetic guideposts as you continue just letting this question unfold within you.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up too, because I mean, that's the, it's a basis of manifestation, essentially, is not having to figure out all the details, not necessarily having to know the exact place in mind, but being in the feeling of what you want, and then
Mhm.
allowing that feeling to create what comes to you, because what will be a match to that feeling would be the right place, even if you don't exactly know it in that moment. So it's just
Yes.
getting into that feeling. How do I want to feel in my new home? What, like putting yourself in that space now and being like, ooh, when I look out my window, do I see trees and squirrels jumping on them? Or do I, see a city? And exactly what you were saying, and just like, how does it feel to be in this space? And that's so
Yeah.
key.
Yeah, I love that too, because then you might call a place or experience to you that you would have never normally thought of.
Yeah.
But as you're in the inner inquiry and letting yourself be guided, someone might just show you a listing for something, or you might get offered a job in a city that you thought like never would have thought of moving to, but then when you start looking at the details you say, oh my goodness, this
Mhm.
really aligns to what I've been feeling into. Let me try it out.
Yeah. So it's like it can be fun sometimes to like think of, if there is a specific place and you have specific details and you want to run with that, cool, but you don't have to be overwhelmed by needing to figure it all out. And you can kind of, as you get into that feeling space, allow some of the details to just happen and unfold for you. And of course, we'll go into more manifestation techniques on our podcast journey here. But that feeling state is such an important part of it. So if you can get there and you can, in your mind's eye, like put yourself into that state, like in a meditation, and really feel like it's real, that's drawing it closer to you.
Yeah, definitely. So then notice like what you were sharing again. We're referring back to a conversation that we had earlier. So we're both sharing things that we told each other.
Yeah.
But if you were considering, for instance, where to go on vacation, like Lindsay was using as an example earlier, and then in the course of a very short amount of time, multiple people share about a specific place. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that that's the universe telling you where to go. I would say there's some kind of internal pull within you that's magnetizing those cues to you. So you're actually drawing in that information from the feeling state that you're creating within.
Yep. So, I mean, for example, like in the past 2 days, there have been four different instances of people talking about Italy. And it's in 2 days, it's just like Italy, 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 Italy. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And I wasn't thinking, going to Italy anytime soon. And I don't necessarily have to, but I have thought about going to Italy for sure. And it's definitely on my radar. And I just feel like it's sort of like, hey, I'm here, I'm calling you. When you're ready, when the time is right, you're gonna know. And so it's one of those, it's sort of like that little whisper of, you should come here sometime. And
Yeah,
I'm
and
like,
I think it's a whisper that's coming from within you.
because there
That
is that
you're
desire in me.
Yeah, so your heart is calling you there in some way,
Mhm.
and and I would say that whisper's probably getting louder by having those outside mentions manifest around you so quickly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's one of those that I'm gonna recognize that that's happening because sometimes we can completely like not connect the dots and be like, oh yeah, that person talked about Italy, that person talked about Italy, cool, whatever, coincidence. But to me, I'm like, oh no, that's significant. And now I'm going to continue to be aware of those calls and see the opportunities for when I do travel there. So it's kind of cool to watch it work that way. And then when I am in Italy, I'll be like, all right, cool. I called this in.
Yes.
And having so much gratitude for that too. And even gratitude for the little like signs and guideposts along the way, because that is calling it in closer as well. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Definitely. Yeah, and I love how, just continuing with this example, that you're not hearing these outside mentions of Italy and then saying, well, let me drop everything and book a ticket. You're still allowing yourself to be in that middle space of feeling that call and feeling that there's definitely something there for you, and still allowing the right time, the right place, the right circumstances to also come into alignment as well. So there's no forcing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you also made me think here about when I'm hearing these things, I'm also not putting limitations on it. I'm not going, oh God, it'd be so nice to go to Italy. Wish I could do that. Like, because I've heard people do that. Like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
someday if I could ever make that happen. Like, oh, it's just too expensive, and they automatically shut it down. They automatically go, that's not possible. And it's like, it is possible though. It's absolutely possible
Yeah.
beyond what you even know it's possible. So it's like I'm looking at those as like, cool, thanks for that. I definitely want to go there rather than like, oh, well, wonder if I'll ever get there.
Yeah. It must be nice.
Must be so nice to go to Italy. I'll probably never go. I'll just look at pictures online. No, I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna go. Heck yeah, I'm gonna go.
That's a really good point. I think that a beautiful shift in perspective is when we see things that feel good to us that other people are doing. We can now say, well, this is in my field of awareness now. I'm
Yes.
noticing that this experience that I'm seeing or hearing about someone else having would feel really good to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to acknowledge this as an activation for myself of a dream that I can absolutely manifest.
I love that. That an activation. I love that. Yeah. Because it's like we could, just like I said, like shut it down immediately. Look at other people doing things on Instagram or whatever, and being like, gosh, they live such a great life. I wish I could do that. And sometimes those thoughts come in, but then you go, wait a minute, I can do that too. I might not know exactly how that will unfold, but even being happy for somebody else having an experience you want is uh, part of that beautiful manifestation because you're putting out, positivity into that thing instead of a more negative vibe. So
Yeah.
like, oh, they get to experience that. Awesome. That looks so cool. I bet they're having a great time. Can't wait to have a great time there too. That can't, it's going to be amazing. It's just like, how can we bring in the positivity around that and the love around that and be in the abundance mindset around that?
Yes, definitely.
Beautiful thing.
Yeah. And then the other piece around that, I would just say, is like another little tool to play with is that if you do notice yourself feeling like, ugh, I wish I could be there, and I don't really feel very happy for that person because I don't know how that's ever going to happen for me, just to notice that. And
Yeah.
if you can just, even for a moment, just give the place in yourself that's feeling that some love and compassion, Just
Hmm.
say, oh, there's that part of me that feels like some of my dreams may not be possible. And I'm just going to give some love to that part. So you don't have to feel like you have to jump from 0 to
No,
100.
no.
Um, if you can, amazing.
Yeah.
And if you need a little, stone to skip on in the middle
I got you. Yeah.
of, then yeah, just seeing and noticing what's coming up in you and just giving, even putting your hands on your heart or your belly, wherever maybe you're feeling that left out or I can't feeling in your body, and
Hmm.
just taking some breaths, sharing some love, seeing that part of yourself, not trying to fix it or change it, just seeing it and allowing it, giving it some space. That can be really powerful.
Incredibly powerful. I mean, that's, just coming from that step of, feeling that way and coming into a little bit more relief is a beautiful step up, and just being like, okay, or just honoring that space that you're in, just like you were saying, giving yourself love. That's such a beautiful practice. And yeah, it's never about having to jump all the way up to ecstatic states of being all the time. As nice as that sounds, we're not always there.
Yeah. We experience it. We know like real things are happening in people's lives, and those have to be honored. And they're not always fun, great things where you can instantly see
Hmm.
the power of your creative power.
Hmm.
And that's okay. We have to feel the whole range
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. And I think too, it's just sort of like, if you are feeling overwhelmed and you are feeling like, there are all of these decisions and all of these emotions, just as we were saying at the beginning, is show me the way.
Yeah.
Show me how to navigate this. Show me what direction to take. Just putting that out there and asking for the guidance of the universe and letting it go a little bit and just being open to
Yes.
receiving.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. So we hope that that lands with you, gives you something gentle and inspirational to play with.
yeah.
And as always, we would love to hear uh, if you work with this tool and how it works for you, and even the in between spaces that you're
Mhm.
experiencing right now, what you're calling in, what you're looking to have the way shown
Mhm.
around.
What are you needing clarity on right now? What are you asking for clarity on and direction on?
Yeah.
So feel free to share that with us.
Yeah.
So thanks for
And
being with us today. As always, we love you so much,
we love you so much.
and we'll see you in the next episode.